Hello and good evening, and welcome to your favorite program. That is the University of the West Indies and You. You always look forward to the third Thursday of the month to do so. And you are going to have a treat. You are going to know about the future of the Open Campus, one of the 4 campuses of the University of the West Indies. And it's not often that you encounter the top echelon of the Open Campus in Dominica, and whenever we do, then we have to get as much as possible from such persons. I have a special guest this evening, and you'll find out because she will be introducing herself, and probably she's no stranger to you. She has been here on this program, University and You, before. And as usual, you know, my anchorman is there, and he too will have his say and how the Dominica site operates. Nobody else. Well, he'll introduce himself also if he needs to. And I think it's opportune time now to take a break for our sponsors, and who else? The University of the West Indies.
I'm part of a tough, smart,
constantly evolving,
never too old to learn community of human beings.
proud of country,
Proudly Caribbean, global citizens.
with convenient access to over 400 learning programs
Delivered both online and face-to-face.
from the Caribbean's University of First Choice.
My mind,
My life.
my world of possibilities is wide open.
Call, click, or visit the UWI Open Campus.
And today I have with me a very special guest from the University of the West Indies, as I would like to think the upper echelon of the management of the Open Campus. And of the 4 campuses, the Open Campus is dear to all of us, and you know that because it reaches you at home. But this special guest has been on our program before, and as usual, she knows that she has to introduce herself. So I'd like to know who she is and anything that is related to the University of the West Indies and a mission in Dominica with us.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. It has been a pleasure to be here, and I am very, very honored to be back on the program again. I think the last time was maybe last year, perhaps. But I know that I haven't been to Dominica as much as I could. But just to explain a little bit about what I do and my role with the Open Campus, I am in charge of all of the Open Campus country sites across the region. There are 42, soon to be 44 sites across the region in 16 countries. So that keeps me a little busy, and I am often in the air more than on the ground, I'm afraid. But the role of the Open Campus country sites, of course, is very key and strategic for the Open Campus, because it is the face of the university, the face of the Open Campus in each of our countries. And here in Dominica, I had the pleasure of attending the 2011 graduating class and participating in that function. And I was very heartened. It was a heartwarming experience to see the numbers of graduates, over 60, also to hear from them the impact that their programs with the Open Campus had made on their lives. The ability to stay home, to study, to still be able to hold a job, have a family life of sorts, because we know there are sacrifices, and to really rejoice at the end with their families and friends in this accomplishment. And that makes it worth it. It makes, you know, all the efforts that all the staff, the management and staff of the Open Campus put into the program development, the services that we offer, it makes it worth it when we see the impact that this has on the lives of the people in our countries. I certainly witnessed that yesterday. I was very grateful for the opportunity to have been part of that, and I thank Dr. Severin and yourself for inviting me to preside over the ceremony yesterday.
And so she did, presided over the ceremony, the graduation of the students of 2011. And you saw the shocking colors, how beautiful they are. I never thought that on this program someone would outdo the head of the Open Campus in Dominica. But there's competition for you, Dr. Severin. Welcome to our program.
Yes, thank you very much, Felix. And let me say straight away, a hearty welcome to Dr. Luz Longsworth again to our shores. In fact, it was our pleasure to have you, and thanks for accepting the invitation to preside at the graduation ceremony, what we call the recognition of graduate ceremony. And let me put that in perspective, Felix, because the Open Campus has what you might call the major graduation ceremony in October of each year. In fact, the forthcoming one should be in St. Kitts. We have had before that in Grenada, we have had in St. Lucia, and we have had in Antigua, you know. And so it's due to be in St. Kitts. We hope one day that it would be in Dominica. But these local ceremonies are really geared to our students who, for various reasons, personal and otherwise, are unable to travel. So this is what we had at our function, and Dr. Longsworth was here, also the Director of Academic Programming and Delivery. So we're happy to have them, and it was quite a pleasant ceremony, which we'll speak of as this program unfolds.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Severin. I will get back to Dr. Luz Longsworth to talk about the graduation. But even before that, we had a packed program for her. Oh, God. She said she's more in the air than on the ground. But I guess as soon as she landed in Dominica, she was hitting the ground. And one of the more exciting things that she did, and informative things, were to meet with the Open Campus students in Dominica at the UWI Open Campus Auditorium. And I would like to know from her what sort of feedback she got from those students, what were their concerns, and what are we going to do about those?
Okay. Yes, it is always very important that in any visit that we make to one of the countries of the Open Campus, that we get the feedback from our students about how they are finding the programming, what issues they're having, what are their suggestions, and how we can improve our service delivery to them. We had a very wide cross-section of students in terms of the programs that they were following at the meeting at the UWI Open Campus. We had students who are doing the BSc in management, in accounting, in banking and finance. We had associate student, a student in paralegal, I believe. We had I think a BSc nursing and a certificate in criminology. So that allowed us to really, and Dr. Hepburn, the director of academic programming, was also with me, and it allowed us to hear their very honest and forthright opinions on their experience. And it was a very good session because the students were honest and I think very fair in their assessment of their learning experience. Obviously, what we found were some comments regarding improvement of how we could improve their learning experience. For instance, some of the challenges with the technology in uploading assignments, perhaps, within the time, in being able to log on adequately in order to respond. And they were finding it very rigorous, a very rigorous program. And in fact, it is a rigorous program. The online learning is really based on a system of what we call constructivist learning. So it is unlike our traditional approach to learning where the teacher speaks and you take notes. I believe you were giving me a little bit of a joke about, students liking to take dictation. It isn't like that in the Open Campus at all. This is really student-centered learning, and the program is developed to, in a sense, not just encourage, but initially to push students.
To get them to do.
To get them to do and to learn by doing. And it is a challenge for our students. But what I can say is when we look at the results at the end, and I made the comment at the graduation recognition ceremony, that the outcomes of our students in the open campus really exceed expectations. You know, last year's graduating class had, you know, 11% first class honors, over 25% upper second, you know, 40% in lower second, a total of 80% with honors in the graduating class.
And can I ask, is that is standard throughout the 4 campuses?
It is not. It is a bit higher, particularly in terms.
Not necessarily the number of first class honors.
Oh.
That is a plus for the open campus.
Yeah.
No, what I'm saying is that a first class honor means
a first class honor.
A first class honor, whether you are the bricks and mortar campuses or the open campus.
Precisely, Felix, yes, because the only difference in our online programming is the modality. The development, the quality assurance, the process of approval is the same as it is for the bricks and mortar campus programs. So it is just how we deliver the program that's different. It's graded in the same way, it's moderated. In fact, many of the tutors are the same people who teach on the bricks and mortar campuses. It's just how we do it that's different. So, we understood some of the issues that the students had regarding the number of assignments and so on, but those are issues that, you know, we will review. They made very good recommendations regarding ways of assessment, because that is another thing that we're reviewing. Dr. Hetman was very interested in some of their suggestions about how they would like to receive their material, because the open campus, and we're touching a little bit on the future now, the open campus is looking at how best, with the technology that exists, we can deliver materials to students. You know, now everyone is reading off, you know, Kindles and iPads and other Androids and so on. You know, is this an effective way of delivering reading materials to students who, you know, on their way home can, if they're not driving, can read. The other thing that we got from our meeting with the students is what sorts of programs do they think we need here in Dominica? Because we are a campus that is demand driven. Online, remember, on site, on demand, the demand part. What are the kinds of programs that the Dominican population need? For those students who've already done first degrees, what kinds of master's programs would be relevant? And they came up with some really good suggestions for us to look at in our development of new programming. So there was a real open sharing with our students, and, you know, their maturity, the fact that they also expressed their appreciation for the convenience of studying with the open campus in Dominica was very, for me, it was an affirmation that what we're doing is right, that they, you know, they're able to study, still keep their family life, still, you know, do their community activities, although they have to make sacrifices, but they are able to keep their lives together. They don't have to leave the country and be missing their families while they're studying. So, you know, it really was a rich experience. We took tremendously copious notes, and we will be going back now as we move forward in our next strategic planning period to seeing how we can respond to some of those suggestions that the students made.
Well, Dr. Severin, you should be gratified that the Dominican students are so proactive, and also they were not in any way, I would think, from what Dr. Longsworth has said, aggressive, but they were giving suggestions as to how we can meet their needs. How are we meeting their needs, Dr. Severin? I know we are introducing 3 new programs in Dominica. which will be shared throughout the region, but also you are always keen on some local programs that you have heard students spoken about, and hence have introduced some of those local programs.
Yeah. Well, before we even go to that, Felix, and Dr. Longsworth has covered, I think, the entire waterfront in terms of what the students said, but the perennial issue of finance came up.
Oh, yes.
And that we always expect, really. And I think this program is an opportune one to, again, to appeal to our, I suppose one can say, restricted private sector, because I did make that point at the meeting, that, you know, we have to develop an ethos where we understand that our students, they are gaining education, they're gaining skills, they're gaining training, if you will, and are sometimes deliberately, other times unwittingly transferring those skills, that education, that instruction, to the workplace. And so the employer benefits. And I think if we develop that ethos, it is a short step or a shorter step, really, to sort of embracing these employees / students and assisting them. And that is the sort of appeal that I would like to make. Now, granted, some places do that, and so we are grateful for that. But we want more of our private sectors to take an interest in that regard and assist the students in that way. I also wanted to clear up a point there. What I tell students all the time in terms of the standardization that you speak of, the parchment on which to begin with, because that's what they see. They don't see the records embedded in the management information systems. But the parchment on which the degree is printed does not say Open Campus or St. Augustine or Mona.
University of the West Indies.
It is awarded by the Senate of the University of the West Indies and goes through all the quality checks. So you have a degree and you become an alumnus of the University of the West Indies. Felix, I'm happy you asked a question about local programming, because that is perhaps part of the raison d'etre, in fact, of the university, what evolved from the extramural department. And it was not by chance that all of these sites were placed in countries, because it was recognized that a brick and mortar campus, as you said, in Jamaica, you know, on Mona Heights, or St. Augustine or Caville, was not always going to know what Roseau, Wesley, Marigot, Peebush, and so on.
And don't forget Portsmouth.
Well, no, I wouldn't. I was coming to the best.
I know. You're from Roseau, so I know you may always forget my hometown. You know? Yes.
They were not going to know what these places need. They didn't understand the peculiarities of these countries, or if you want to use the word, idiosyncrasies. You know, yes, we're Caribbean and whatever. So these were set up to take care of the needs beyond the walls of the university. And one of the historical facts and great outcomes of the graduation ceremony was that we had graduates for the first time in 2 such programs, early childhood care and education for teachers. Yes, because last year we had the administrators, and criminology. And it was, Felix, a pleasure to sit back and you heard Jeffrey James, Corporal, how he spoke to that issue. And we are thinking of communication studies, we are thinking of psychology, we are thinking, I think, of the human resource development certificate programs, so that, again, ordinary Dominicans, and you heard Victorine speak to that yesterday, ordinary Dominicans, middle and low-income Dominicans can get that opportunity to participate in the education of society. And one of the things, and I think Dr. Longsworth mentioned it, that the students said at the convoi that we had with them, was that, you know, when all is said and done, when the dust has settled, they are able to keep their families together. In fact, I think Victorine said something like that. As low and middle income earners, we therefore earnestly embrace the opportunities of enjoying job security and family unity while achieving our goals at an unbeatable cost. thanks to the University of the West Indies Open Campus, to me, that was what made the entire exercise and probably my very being worthwhile.
Yeah, Dr. Severin, you made mention of Victorine. You quoted from Victorine.
Yes.
Is that in 1864 or was it in 2012?
Mr. Augustus Victorine was one of our standing students. And again, as I said...
Not only outstanding, he was...
first-class honors.
First-class honors
BSc
in
Management Studies. And that was particularly important. And in fact, we had 2 males speaking on behalf of their group as outstanding students.
Yes.
You know, again, I think that made it very valuable too, because we were showing that the good men, so to speak, have not disappeared completely. And the passion with which that they delivered those addresses and what they said, very deep, I think should reassure our other men, Felix, in terms of seeking higher education. And in fact, remember when we were sort of going through those things, we said when we had spoken about the criminology program here, and we said that we wanted to target the men. Evidently, our goals were accomplished, and you saw the epitome of that, or the highlight of that, at the recognition of graduates function. It's very, very pleasing and satisfying.
And you're so right, because in the past 4 years, that is the greatest number of men that we have seen at our recognition of graduate ceremony. You also, with criminology, target the police force, because that's where men can be found. Not that they are not all over. The population of Dominica being...
And the prison, and the prison services.
Yes, and the prison services. 1-to-1, 1 male to 1 female in the 70 or 71,000. I can't get it right. The census always seems to revolve around 70,000. Never goes up, never goes down. But there yet.
We are consistent.
We need to be educating, as you rightly said, Dr. Severin, more men. And probably one of the needs of Dominica, which is paramount, is to design programs that men will fancy and then...
And embrace.
Embrace, yes. Okay. Dr. Longsworth, this is a hardworking, should I say young man? He prefers that I call him that way.
I think you can really emphasize both words, young and man.
Young. But I'm happy if something echoing from both Dr. Longsworth and Dr. Severin is that it's a lot of hard work, and our guest speaker at the graduation, Justice Stevenson Brooks, did say that UWI has a lot of hard work. But all of them share the view that I hold dearly, that hard work means quality. And for an open campus student, you are doing this part-time, not full-time as those at the bricks and mortar campuses. And that too is challenging. And when you have eventually graduated from the University of the West Indies, you feel very fulfilled. That is the sort of feedback I get from many students. They then want to go on, as Dr. Longsworth said, to do master's degree programs. And I guess you got a lot of that. Any ones that you can remember that Dominican students are asking to do?
Yes. Well, most of them wanted to do something in business management, obviously because our BSc in Management Studies has been our flagship program throughout the region, and we have a large cohort of graduates who are waiting on business-related masters. Human resource management, finance was mentioned. Those two were mentioned particularly. And we are, in fact, looking at designing something that can be a very flexible program. It can be a program that will have a core of master's level management programs, but then can have specialty areas that can address various elements of professional studies, professional areas in the business field.
So I think it is appropriate now we take a little break for our sponsors, the University of the West Indies.
I'm part of a tough, smart,
Constantly evolving,
never too old to learn community of human beings.
proud of country,
Proudly Caribbean, global citizens.
with convenient access to over 400 learning programs
Delivered both online and face-to-face.
from the Caribbean's University of First Choice.
My mind,
My life.
my world of possibilities is wide open.
Call, click, or visit the UWI Open Campus.
Now, for all the students and would-be students, Dr. Luz Longsworth was challenged, asked questions, and you can see how pleasant she looks. She did give those answers that went deep to the heart, and you will always be linked to the University of the West Indies. And we are waiting particularly for those persons in the fifth forms of our secondary schools. It's amazing that Dr. Severin did not speak about that, but he's always looking forward, attracting you. Come to the University of the West Indies Open Campus, Dominica, and do a degree program, an associate degree program. I know you're concerned about fees, and he gave some suggestions that if you're employed, the employers will help. For example, I know the NBD has been sponsoring the students. I'm sorry, MBD, yes? National Bank does that. Yes. And there are others.
Students do very well.
If I can recall, when we launched the IAB program, the International Association of Bookkeeping and Accounting program, a number of students were sponsored by the NDFD. So employers, as he rightly said, there is value that is filtered back into your workplace and improves your workplace. Please invest in the students. As well as students, there's always the loan process. That is the better way, I always feel. That is when you know that you have to repay a loan, what does that encourage you to do? Do work and do well. Dr. Longsworth, I, through the grapevine, have heard that the University of the West Indies, and in particularly the Open Campus, is going through a transformation for the period 2012 to 2017. It's called a process of change. What is this all about, may I ask?
Okay, well, the 2012-2017 period is a new strategic plan period. We are completing the 2007 to 2012 strategic plan. But this process has been a real soul searching for the University of the West Indies generally, particularly given the challenges that the world is experiencing with the global downturn, with increased competition in the higher education sector, but also with the increased needs of our countries, particularly here in the region, to be able to address these challenges. And the university recognizes, as it always has, that it is our role to prepare our people. That is our mission, to ensure that we have a cadre of professionals that can lead our countries through any challenge that may face us. So we're looking at a process of really how does the university now retool, re-examine what it does to provide the very best quality education, respond to the needs both in terms of teaching but also research and community outreach. How do we do things better? And of course we have to look at how do we do things even more economically, because we understand the challenges that our governments have with supporting tertiary institutions. We understand the challenges our students have with paying fees. So we have to be able to make it a lot more cost effective and as well as appropriate for our population. For the open campus, as our part of that transformation, we have a very special role, because our role is our principal likes to call it, we are the glue for the University of the West Indies, and that is so true. We are the regional glue, because we have the 3 bricks and mortar campuses, and they are huge entities in Jamaica, Trinidad, and Barbados. But the open campus pulls it all together, and we are now undergoing a review of how we operate, so that we can transform our business operations and our operational management of that business. And what is the aim of that? To be more student-centered, to be more agile and flexible for the needs, to be more responsive to the needs on the ground, and to be able to pull not just the programming that we are developing online, but all the programs that the university, wealth of programs that the University of the West Indies has. I mean, we have over 800 programs across the University of the West Indies, and we wanted to see how many of those can be accessible to Dominica. Mm-hmm. We want Dominicans to be able to have a menu of programs that they can access right here. Mm-hmm. So the transformation in the open campus is looking at how we do business now, how we develop our programs, how do we link with the other campuses, how do we get to market, to use a business term, quickly these programs, because people are not waiting on us, and we know that there is competition. They're not as good as we are, but there is competition, and we understand that people will go to the competitor if they have a product that's out there quicker than we are. So it's a whole new mindset. We've started with some new programming already, and I know that in Dominica there was a good launch of 3 of those new programs: the BSc in Youth Development Work, the Bachelor's in Early Childhood and Family Studies, Early Childhood Education and Family Studies, and the MA in the Master's in English. And I just want to quickly say that the Master's in English is a deceptive title. It sounds as if it would only be for English teachers or perhaps people who are interested in literature, but it really is a master's in communication for anyone who has to use the English language for their livelihood, for example. It really delves into how you can use the language to its best purpose. Coming up, we should be having shortly a Master's in Public Sector Management, and that will help to address some of the issues of our public sector transformation throughout the region. And also, we are entering into a relationship where we would be able to offer the certificate in management accounting across the region in collaboration with the Canadian CMA organization. So we are also on a path where we can develop, put out much quicker than we have been doing these programs, and to build our sites like Dominica to be able to respond to that in terms of the service that we offer here on the ground. So that is really the core of the transformation. As with all transformation and change projects, we have to work it through with the people, because without the people we can't change anything. So we are in that process now of discussing the nuts and bolts and the nitty-gritty parts of it, but we expect that by end of 2017 it will be a transformed and better University of the West Indies and University of the West Indies Open Campus.
Yeah, and Dr. Severin, I know I was about to say change is difficult for you, but I know you are part of that process of change. I'd like to ask, Dr. Longsworth spoke more about the university and the open campus as a whole in that change process. But would you like to address for the capacity building of staff of open campuses? Because you were architect of part of what discussions went on.
Well, Felix, the change that Dr. Longsworth has been speaking about, it's ongoing, and it's what you might say, it is not definitive. You know, we are still in the reflection processes and so on. What I would like to do is to, based on what has been said and my knowledge of what's going on, is to reflect on what I expect can come out of all of this. And the typical one, as you would imagine, is more programs for Dominica and for Dominicans. In other words, what I'm imagining is a situation where, and I think our students spoke to that, those who we had in the discussions, that they can sit in Dominica and almost any program, and that will take a little while, so we're not promising anything, almost any program that they can get at the brick and mortar or residential campuses, they can access here in Dominica. And that to me is important. Not only that, but the speed with which those programs can be delivered and can be sort of unfurled, to use one of my favorite terms, would be enhanced by these new structures that we're speaking about, the transformation and change. Because the strategic plan is a theoretical underpinning, so to speak, for that sort of thing. What in fact, where the rubber meets the road, is the operational plan. How do you operationalize those things? And therefore, the sites are going to be critical in that regard. And that is why, and the change is nothing new, because some years ago, there wasn't program officers, okay?
Thank you for that change.
Well, exactly. The fact is that this was not to give you employment as much as to serve our students.
Yes.
That is, and we have seen, I'm saying that publicly, we have seen the enhancement, you know, with your arrival. And also, for instance, we understand that, as Dr. Longsworth said, that we know that we deliver the best, but we have to take that message to the people where they are. We have to meet them where they are. And as a result of that, we have a marketing and outreach officer,
yes,
who will not only serve Dominica, but some of the other sites that are smaller, if you will, than Dominica, and it would not make sense to have a resident, you know. So these are the kinds of things that we're anticipating. When your academic programming and delivery, and I would have liked Dr. Hepburn to be there, but he spoke to the students, is concentrating on rolling out those programs efficiently with information that we feed to them from the site, because they can't know if we haven't said to them what our students need. When they are able to concentrate on that, then your sites can be the representative of the university, finding out what is wanted on the ground, but also being able to revisit. It's not as if we stopped, but being able to enhance what we initially set out to do. Our outreach, our community development, our community programming, those shorter courses. When people say to you that, you know, do you all do industrial relations? We just had a discussion this morning. Those kinds of areas where people don't necessarily want to leave their jobs, change their professions. People are encumbered, so to speak, by mortgages and so on. But I have an interest in industrial relations. What can you do for me? And those sites can launch those sort of courses, those 42 plus 2 in the future sites that Dr. Longsworth spoke about. So I hope I have sort of given you a bit of
you have, but I teased you because I know you like to be politically correct. I know also that you wear many hats, apart from being part of the whole change process and more on the academic side. But you are a representative of one union, that is WIGAT. You didn't make mention of that, but you spoke about industrial relations, so at least you hinted that yes, you have a role there.
Well, that is something, Felix, that indeed I have kept a secret from the rest of the Dominican public, so that I can play that card when anyone...
When it comes, you know something about industrial relations.
But WIGAT for the Dominican public is a West Indies group of university teachers,
yes, and
that is an umbrella body that covers staff at the lecturer and above level,
yes,
you know. And so I had the pleasure last year of being elected by my peers, program officers and heads, to be their representatives in the open campus countrysides, and quite a privilege, because you have meetings with them, you find out concerns, and we discuss as a professional body. So it is not union qua union. Yes, that is what it is, but we're always aiming to improve our working conditions from the point of view of employee and employer,
okay,
as it were. So that is one of the other hats that a lot of
and I also know probably
I am a union man.
I know you're a union man, and I also know that you probably, it has escaped you, but you are losing one of your staff due to retirement. Would you like to say thank you?
No, I thank you for that. In fact, I mentioned this at the graduation recognition.
See, as a union person, you're not supposed to forget those things.
Well, his representative would be ATSS.
Yes, but you know, a sister
technical and service staff. But yes,
trade union, you may say.
And I think it is opportune to say to the public, you know, that I mean, and the students will appreciate that, because you could tell by their posture, by their disposition, when I mentioned that yes, they were going to miss Mr. Dinard. Mr. Bernard Dinard, our site technician,
frequently called Mr. D.
Mr. D. From 1997 is leaving us in June this year, and I want to publicly extend my own personal thanks, but also on behalf of the University of the West Indies to him, because he has served us well, and I think he epitomized what we are really working on seriously at the university, the whole matter of student centeredness, where you want to respond to your students, you want to give them that sensibility that they are really central and at the core for all we do. So thank you to Mr. Dinard. And when you thank people, you have to thank their families, because their families make it possible for them to give of themselves. So, and I want to wish him and his family God's richest blessings, which is the best I think you can wish to someone, really.
Well, having done that, I have secured some votes for you to be retained on a union. Thank you, Dr. Severin.
Thank you. I am actually going to suggest to the union members later this year that look, if you want to give me another mandate, I'm available.
Yes.
But if not, because I like the democratic process, and I always want to feel that I have their backing, and I'm not imposing myself on them. It's all a democratic process.
And in the remaining minutes that we have, Dr. Longsworth, because you are our guest, this is a permanent fixture in Dr. Francis Severin in our programs. Sometime he takes a break. He never gives me one, but let us give the remaining minutes to you, Dr. Longsworth, not only about UWI and the open campus, but your stay in Dominica. How is it?
Well, this is my 4th visit to Dominica. I'm jokingly complaining that I have not seen enough of this beautiful country, and it is a tremendously beautiful country. I do know Melville Hall Airport very well, and the road to Roseau, the Garaway and the Fort Young Hotel, the Kalinago territory, which is wonderful. But it would be nice to see a little bit more of it the next time. It is one of the most beautiful countries in the Caribbean, I must say.
It reminds you of where?
And it reminds me of Portland, which is a parish in Jamaica where I come from. But it is the same lush beauty. It also, I mean, the people in Dominica are wonderful, and my stay here has been excellent. Not long enough, and that's my fault, as you know. I'm in the air, as I said, more often than not, and have to rush back. But thanks again for the hospitality, and it was wonderful to be with you and with the Dominican people and students of the Open Campus.
And I think we should take a break now for our sponsors, the University of the West Indies.
I'm part of a tough, smart,
Constantly evolving,
never too old to learn community of human beings.
proud of country,
Proudly Caribbean, global citizens.
with convenient access to over 400 learning programs
Delivered both online and face-to-face.
from the Caribbean's University of First Choice.
My mind,
My life.
my world of possibilities is wide open.
Call, click, or visit the UWI Open Campus.
And we are back with you, and we have tried to extract as much as possible from the director. She has had 4 visits, probably you may say 1 per year, because this is the 4th year of the Open Campus, having been established in 2008, now 2012, and she's with us. Let's hope at least she gives that 1 per year visit, or if not 2. But the warmth with which she spoke about Dominica and Dominican students, I think that will encourage her to come back to be with you as well as others. But what I'm concerned about, Dr. Longsworth, is what strategies you can advise on we to use to increase the population of students at the open campus. Dominica, the region, what strategies are there being discussed?
Right. Well, as Dr. Severin mentioned, one of the real issues for students in the region is finance. And it is not just in Dominica, we're seeing it across the region. Many students are unable to finance their education by themselves. So some of the strategies that we are adopting in the university, and I heard Dr. Severin speaking about this, is partnering with the institutions that benefit from these students' education, the places that they work, where they contribute on a day-to-day basis. And the fact of the matter is that the return on the investment in those students for the governments or for the businesses is much greater than the input in terms of supporting fees or scholarships or even small bursaries for assistance in paying the fees. So we really want to encourage that partnership with the private sector, partnership with the public sector to continue to supporting our human capacity development. We have to invest in that. In addition, the alumni of the region and the alumni in Dominica, I know, are a dedicated group, but if you look at universities across the world, the way they build is through the work of their alumni, the support, not only in giving money, but also in opening doors, in helping to develop relationships for the university and for the open campus. So I think those are two key strategies for improving our student numbers. Our role is, of course, as we said, increasing the choice of things that students can do. So it's hand in hand then with the finance as well as with what we have to offer. So those are strategies that together I think we will be able to double. I think we should have a target. The Dominica campus has about 300 students, and I think we wanted to more than double that. We also want to double the size of the campus and the space. You know. So we have quite a lot of strategies that we're working on. And believe me, people recognize the importance of the open campus. We're getting a lot of overtures from NGOs and other organizations to work with them in capacity building, because they see what the open campus sites in particular can do in terms of reaching the people on the ground who really make the difference. So I think the future is bright, but of course it requires, as you pointed out, a lot of strategizing and a lot of working together with partners.
Good. And Dr. Longsworth made mention, I think what I got from it is that the open campus seemed to be the face of the University of the West Indies, and very much so. It will be more and increasingly so in the future. Dr. Severin referred to it as the glue of the University of the West Indies. So those two things fit in. Dr. Severin, what I thought of asking you, because we spoke about how to attract more and more students, do you realize that in 2011, the Dominica site, there were some 89 graduates coming from the Dominica site. The 27 which journeyed to Antigua, and some 62 that were at the recognition of graduation ceremony recently. So you are in effect satisfying the dream of Sir Hilary Beckles, aren't you? Making big progress. I would like to think, not boastfully.
Yes, trying to move in that direction. But more importantly, you know, Felix, it's not quantity alone, but the quality. You know, you know that in these graduates, you have some solid people. You heard Jeffrey James yesterday about his course, you know, and so we're happy to be part of that whole effort.
Yes, and in closing, what I can gladly say, you will be viewing some of those memorable sites at the recent recognition of graduates in Dominica, the University of West Indies Open Campus. And as always, we are in the third Thursday of April, and you are eagerly looking forward to our next program, which I suspect may well be on fifth form students who are now attending the University of West Indies Open Campus. They will have their views, and they will be encouraging you as one of our strategies to increase the number at the Open Campus site in Dominica. Always love being with you, and we had some lovely people here tonight. We will be with you in May, the third Thursday of May. Always remember, the University of the West Indies and you. Thank you for viewing and listening.
We are met today in order that we may mark by a formal ceremony the entry of certain of our members into the company of graduates and the academic achievement of others. As a university, we are an academic society of undergraduates, bachelors, masters, and doctors, and we follow the academic tradition in the pursuit of knowledge and the encouragement of learning, purposes which are laid down in the preamble to the Royal Charter, by which we have been granted the powers needful for the prosecution of our affairs. In pursuing these aims, our members advance from time to time to a higher standing in the academic community. And it is proper that as a body, we should celebrate their achievement. It is marked by the granting of a degree or diploma or license or certificate, and we rejoice with our graduates on their achievement.
Director, the persons whose names will be called studied in the University of the West Indies, and having fulfilled the requirements of the University of the West Indies, beg leave to be presented to you by the Program Officer, UWI Open Campus Dominica, as Masters in Business Administration, Masters of Education, Bachelors of Science, Social Sciences, Bachelors of Education, Bachelors of Science in Nursing, Post-RN, Executive Diplomas in Management, Associate Degrees, Certificates in Early Childhood Care and Education for teachers, and certificates in criminology of the University of the West Indies.
On behalf of the Chancellor and by the authority vested in him, I recognize these persons whose names are about to be called and those who are unable to attend as graduate members of our society.
Geoffrey James, distinction. Thora Alcindor. Augustina Williams. Bernadette John. Camilla Roach. Augustus Victorin, first class honors. Norissa King Peter. Maria Etienne Pascal.
Having such an honor bestowed upon me by this reputable institution, the University of the West Indies, is one I embrace with much humility. I am indeed grateful to be addressing this ceremony as the graduates' representative. To God be the glory, for without him, this entire process would not have been possible. So let's give thanks to the Almighty Father for his mercies, his wisdom, and guidance.
I applaud you graduates for undertaking and sticking, and as Corporal JJ said, enduring your course of study. As I know, it must have been hard, as most of you, if not all of you, worked full-time and studied full-time. And I note that the percentage of those who have achieved top honors seems to be quite high. I am aware that you also had family and other responsibilities which you could not let go during the course of your study, and yet you have made it. You have made it through to the end. Accept my profound congratulations. For you, the graduates, this is a day for you to celebrate, to walk up to the front, to the stage, and to declare to those present, and indeed to the whole world, that you are the holder of a degree from Mother UWI. Your achievements, whether it would be as a diploma, certificate, bachelor's, master's graduates, you are the latest recruits in your own extraordinary careers. For the faculty of the Open Campus, this morning brings a sense of great accomplishment to you, of knowing that you have assisted, mentored, and guided the graduates, and furthered the legacy not only of the University of the West Indies, but of many to be exceptional citizens of Dominica.